Good evening, everyone. Here is Geraldo Lemos Neto from Belo Horizonte, Brazil, from Portal Saber Espiritismo. We have here with us at the production Marco Gandra and Silvana Saldanha, and we are doing the program to Know Spiritism. Welcoming everyone from Portal Saber Espiritismo of Brazil and also from DSN, Discover Spiritism Network from Florida, and Kardec Radio from Virginia, USA. Thank you for being with us. Welcome, everyone. We are going to continuing to talk about Chico Xavier's work. Today is the 9th program. Chico Xavier, the Apostle of Love. We will be talking about his mother, Maria de São João de Deus. In the next slide, you can see in the precepts of her book, Letters from a Dead Woman, Cartas de uma Morta. She wrote to her son Chico Xavier in 1927 and told him, "My son, here you have my unpretentious letters, the first impressions of my spirit in the afterlife. As much as I struggled, I could not be faithful to my descriptions of the aspects that form the environments of the spirit. Objects and panoramas, which are not related to the things known on earth, are natural to remain unrelated to the understanding of man, and hence the difficulty for the liberated soul to manifest itself with the goal of clarifying the earthly creatures." She was told, of course, Chico Xavier, her son, the difficulty to describe the life after death, the realm of the spirit where she was traveling to. She was noticing, taking notes, and also, for our great surprise, this book was published in 1935, and she was the first spirit to talk about other civilizations, extraterrestrial civilizations here in the solar system. Let's see what she told Chico. She wrote through Chico Xavier. Next one. She visited the planet Saturn by the spirit with the help of her mentor, and she described the life of Saturn. Let's see what she told Chico. From the rosy seas of Saturn. At this moment, of course, after the travel to Saturn in the spirit world, she was accompanied by her mentor, and when she arrived, she wrote to Chico Xavier. At this moment, I noticed that the day was ending in the hemisphere in which we found ourselves disappearing in the blued and distant globe of the sun and the horizons of the prodigious world. It's so neat to know this, because from her point of view, when she was in Saturn, she could see the sun as a blue distant globe. And we know nowadays that this is the actual appearance of the sun from the Saturn point of view, as the Cassini spaceship showed us. And she was writing this to Chico Xavier in 1927, decades ago. So she continued, "Its brightness dimmed, and when the cerulean reflects the color of the sun, was observed in all things. A splendorous and inenarrable scenery was unsealed to my stunned gaze. Uh, she was marveled by the, the colors and the reflections of the light at the Saturn's atmosphere. It appeared that a beautifully colored halo of flames crowned this enchanted orb amid the blazing moons, which seemed to be victories, shining in the sea of gentle clarities. She talked about the lots of moons. We know nowadays that Saturn has almost 70 moons, and the light from the sun could reflect not only in those moons towards the atmosphere, the Saturn atmosphere, but also throughout its marvelous rings. Uh, we moved in a certain direction, and to my astonishment, when I came across a large mass of a fluid substance, a fluidic substance similar to slightly rosy water, my esteemed mentor showed me that Saturn seas and the sources of the enchanted lakes as if they were jammed in the most beautiful glaciers. Of course, this is the view of a discarnated soul from Earth, and she related to the discarnate world that she saw on Saturn. Uh, so that she is telling us that there is a sea. Of course, this is not a water sea, as she herself told us. It was a large mass of a fluidic substance, a substance that we don't have here on Earth. But for Saturn, it was similar to a slightly rosy ocean. It had the color of a rosy water. And for their perspective of viewers, of view, those those rosy waters or fluidic substance is as we here on Earth relate to our oceans. So we can see that the Saturn seas and also the enchanted lakes of those kind of fluidic substance uh, can also be related, as she told us here, with uh, some kind of beautiful glaciers here on Earth. Of course, Saturn, because of the distance of this planet to our sun, it's most more than it's colder, most colder than we have here. The temperatures in the earthly atmosphere. Let's see in the next one. This is very interesting. She is telling us, I then observed an indescribable picture of a summit on a hill, which looked like snow, and a certain palace of precious energy columns on a carpet of flowers. Luminous rings were shining around the large crowds gathered together in an altitude of fraternity and prayer. This is very neat. She observed an indescribable picture of a summit. So it is in some kind of an airy city, because she in this book tells us that the cities of Saturn, they were not alike the ones here we have on Earth, that it appears to her point of view that they were airy cities. And also she talked about the inhabitants of Saturns, that creatures that had wings. They also are airy creatures, most and all of them mostly different from the earthly creatures. She also called them like in the monstrous ways because they were so different from the human beings that she was very, very much astonished to see them. But of course, they are a higher spirits uh, civilization. They are extraterrestrial civilization that are much higher in their development, in their evolution. And as Mrs. Maria João de Deus are telling us, she saw that summit, that indescribable picture of a summit on a hill, which looked like snow, and a certain palace of precious energy columns and a carpet of flowers. She described also the building that she saw, it was a palace up in a hill. This hill was not a hill like our hills in here on Earth. It was a hill like a snowy hill, and she saw a palace. Described this palace as having columns of energy and a carpet of flowers. Um, she saw then that the luminous rings of Saturn were shining around the large crowds gathered together in an altitude of fraternity or prayer and prayer. And I can imagine this beautiful scenery that she was looking at. The reflections of the sun reflecting not only through the 70 Saturn's moons, but also and mainly through the luminous rings of Saturn that were shining. And this light would, of course, embrace all those people, all those spirits that were gathered together for the purpose of fraternity and prayer. So this is a word that we can say in the classification of words that Allan Kardec himself wrote to us through his last book, The Genesis, that were published in January the 6th, 1868 in Paris. We can say this is mostly a planet that is already happy, a happy planet. After the stage of regeneration, we have the planets, the happy planets, in Portuguese, planetas felizes, so that we can say that Saturn is mostly a happy planet. We can say that for sure. And then Mrs. Maria de São João de Deus told us, then I saw in the constellated skies a rising wave of feverish luminosities and a blue expanse where beautiful satellites revolved around this orb of wisdom and happiness. A ray of sunshine descended upon those silent and meditative beings. It was a visible correspondence between two planes. So this is very important because she could see, she could observe by the help of her mentor, her spiritual mentor, the interaction between the spiritual realm in Saturn With the incarnated realm in Saturn itself, she could saw in those constellated skies what she described as a rising wave of feverish luminosities, and they had the blue color, a blue expanse, and they revolved around the orb, around the Saturn, around the Saturn moons, around the Saturn uh, rings, to embrace all the population of Saturn that were gathered there for an attitude of fraternity and prayer. So I wonder how wonderful must have been this view, this sight of Mrs. Maria de São João de Deus, Chico Xavier's mother. And it was, like she said, it was a visible correspondence between two planes, the plane of the discarnate and the plane of the incarnate there in Saturn. Of course, they are very different from the planes here, life planes here on Earth, because Earth, as you know, is a more material world, a more concrete world, and Saturn is a more gasified world. Okay? And she continued to talk about this visit of hers at Saturn when she told Chico, wrote through the psychographic mediumship of Chico. At that moment, however, the unveiled mentor ripped me from the ecstasy in which I thought. Then I came out of the dense atmosphere, but full of enchantments and wonders, talking with me the eternal, taking with me the eternal vision of that heavenly orb of harmony and beauty, which appeared to me, which appeared to my soul, to my shy and imperfect spirit, as a prodigious resort of perfections of the universe. Now she was telling that she was awake, she was having this ecstasy moment, contemplating those beautiful scenery there in those gathered spirits or beings, the Saturn beings that were there to pray and to hail fraternity in a most elevated attitude, and she was having this ecstasy, but her mentor uh, called her upon the reality, and she was out of this ecstasy that she was in. And she told us that she came out of that dense atmosphere, the gasified atmosphere of Saturn, but nevertheless she remained with the feeling of the enchantment and wonders, taking her the eternal vision of that what she called heavenly orb of harmony and beautiful and beauty. So, of course, Saturn, no doubt, is the most beautiful planet of the solar system, and as the Chico Xavier Mother is revealing to us through his psychographic mediumship, it is also a marvelous place, a beautiful heavenly orb or planet full of harmony and beauty. It must have been a wonderful experience for her, and of course also for Chico, that was receiving those teachings from his own mother. She stopped talking about her visit to Saturn, uh, telling us that it appeared to her shy and imperfect spirit as as Saturn was and is a prestigious, prodigious resort of perfections of the universe. So lots of spirits of hierarchy, and those spirits, as she herself would tell us, the only purpose of those lives, of their lives, is to achieve intellectual and cultural goals about the wisdom of the universe. So we are here to see this as an example, just one example, that we can find in Chico Xavier works, the revelation, the the showing that we have nearby, close to us, here on the solar system, different extraterrestrials, beings, civilizations. For instance, she also visited the planet Mars, and she also told us that Mars has a higher uh, humanity than Earth. And also, she went outside the solar system where she visited a triple uh, stellar stellar system, a triple stellar system, where she saw one sun like ours, uh, uh, orange one sun emitting a blue light, and another one emitting a rose light. And she also could stay in one planet that orbit those triple stars. And that's is very, very interesting, because this was written probably between 1927 and 1930, and it was only published in 1935 as Chico Xavier's second book, Cartas de uma Morta, Letters from a Dead Woman. And only in 2004 science would effectually find this triple sun triple stars system and nearby the solar system. It was the year of 2004, and it was discovered by the Hubble Space Telescope. And this was a very important confirmation of the writings of Chico Xavier's mothers. And the most interesting thing, at this three stars, the triple system, they had exactly the same colors described. The suns, the stars had the same colors described by Chico Xavier's mother. So there is a lot more to discover into the works of Chico Xavier. I just talked about one small detail that was written by Chico's mother. And she also, as I told you, would describe two more occasions in different words. And also the spirit of Humberto de Campos would also describe his own visit to the Mars planet, and his observations of the Mars society. It is written in the book Novas Mensagens, New Messages, that were published in 1940 by the Federação Espírita Brasileira, the Spiritist Federation of Brazil. And of course, other examples that are not the object of the focus of here of our study today. And to close our time, I would like to show you one more slide that is Chico Xavier. And I'd like to thank our dear friend Tanya Stewart from California and Florida, who had the kindness to offer us the translations and the slides of this presentation. And as we can see, Chico Xavier lived his life as a true missionary and fulfilled his mission of mediumship according to the most pure and elevated teachings of the Christian precepts. Love your neighbors and your enemies, and give for free what has been received freely. So thank you so much for being with us in this program here at Portal Saber Espiritismo from Belo Horizonte, Brazil. This is the program To Know Spiritism, Part 9, the works of Chico Xavier. We from Portal Saber Espiritismo, Geraldo Lemos Neto, Marco Gandra and Silvana Saldanha. Thank you all for watching. From also the DSN, Discover Spiritism Network, and from Kardec Radio. Have you all a very good evening. God bless you.